What would you do if the man tending your garden was also planting seeds of betrayal in your marriage? The glowing screen of my phone at 2 a.m., illuminating a text message from an unknown number, was the first crack in my life's perfect facade. It wasn't a threat, but a single innocuous photo. My wife, Sarah, laughing intimately with a man whose face was obscured by shadow. But his distinctive, dirt-stained work boots were unmistakable. They were the same boots I'd seen countless times, propped against our back door. My gardener. The man who only worked when I was traveling. My stomach dropped, a cold, hard knot of dread tightening with each beat of my heart. The image was blurry, but the intimacy was undeniable, a silent scream echoing in the quiet of my hotel room. I zoomed in, my thumb trembling, trying to make out more, but the mystery only deepened, leaving me with a chilling certainty that my world was about to shatter. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. The flight back to Los Angeles felt like an eternity. Every bump of turbulence, every polite smile from a flight attendant felt like a mockery. Sarah met me at LAX, her usual radiant self, a kiss on my cheek that now felt like ash. I looked into her eyes, searching for a flicker of guilt. She asked about my trip, about the big merger I'd been working on, and I answered on autopilot, my mind replaying the image on my phone. Over the next few weeks, a subtle shift began. Sarah, once so eager to hear about my day, became distant. Her phone, once left carelessly on the counter, was now always clutched in her hand, screen down. She started taking long shopping trips to Beverly Hills, returning with fewer bags than usual, and a strange, almost giddy energy. I noticed new perfumes, scents I didn't recognize, clinging to her clothes. Small things easily dismissed by a trusting husband. But to a man whose gut was screaming, they were neon signs. One Tuesday, I left for a business trip to New York, a suitcase packed, my goodbye kiss to Sarah, feeling like a performance. But instead of heading to the airport, I drove to a cheap motel near a home in Santa Monica, parking my rental car in the furthest corner. I watched our house, a silent sentinel in the twilight. Around 8 p.m., a beat-up pickup truck, the same one I'd seen parked in our driveway, pulled up. Out stepped Mark, our gardener, a man whose hands were usually covered in soil, now surprisingly clean, a smirk on his face. He walked straight to our front door, and Sarah, my wife, opened it, pulling him inside with a familiarity that twisted a knife in my chest. The humiliation was a physical weight, pressing down on me. My loyal wife, the woman I'd built a life with, was inviting another man into our home. The anger was a slow burn, but beneath it, a cold, calculating resolve began to form. I wasn't just broken, I was being reforged into something ruthless. I started gathering proof. I installed discrete cameras in the house, focusing on common areas, not the bedroom. I didn't want to see that. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Frank, who specialized in infidelity cases. Frank's reports were clinical, yet each one was a fresh wound. Photos of Sarah and Mark at a secluded cafe in Malibu, holding hands. Receipts for expensive dinners, paid for by Sarah at restaurants I'd never been taken to. Phone records showing countless calls and texts between them, often late into the night. Sarah, meanwhile, grew bolder, more manipulative. She'd accuse me of being distant, of working too much, of neglecting her. "You're never here, David," she'd scream, her voice laced with a venom I'd never heard before. "Maybe if you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't feel so alone." The audacity was breathtaking, a cruel twist of the knife. Mark, the gardener, grew smug. I'd see him around town catching his eye, and he'd offer a knowing, almost pitying smile, as if we shared a secret, and he was the victor. They felt untouchable, basking in their illicit affair. There were nights I'd sit in my study, the evidence spread before me, and just stare at the wall, the weight of it all crushing me. The betrayal, the lies, the sheer disrespect. I'd loved Sarah with every fiber of my being, and she had shattered it all, piece by agonizing piece. I cried, not for her, but for the man I used to be, the trusting, optimistic man who believed in forever. That man was gone, replaced by a hollow shell, fueled by a singular, burning desire for justice. But the tears eventually dried, replaced by a steely resolve. I wasn't going to confront them, not yet. That would be too easy, too quick. They deserve to feel the slow, agonizing unraveling of their perfect little world. I consulted with a top divorce attorney in downtown Los Angeles, a woman known for her ruthless efficiency. We meticulously planned every step. We gathered financial records, property deeds, prenuptial agreements. We documented every instance of Sarah's neglect, her emotional abuse, her blatant disregard for our marriage. The traps were set. First, the legal one. My attorney filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, but with a carefully worded clause that hinted at marital misconduct. Then, the social trap. I created an anonymous email account and sent a carefully curated selection of photos and texts to Sarah's closest friends, her family, and even the charity board members. Not the most explicit ones, just enough to sow doubt, to ignite whispers. The kind of whispers that spread like wildfire through the affluent circles of Santa Monica. The public exposure was brutal. It started with the whispers, then the averted gazes at social events. Sarah's charity work, her carefully cultivated image as a pillar of the community, began to crumble. The divorce proceedings, though initially private, soon became fodder for local gossip columns. Fueled by anonymous tips that detailed her affair with the help, Mark, the smug gardener, found his landscaping business drying up overnight. No one wanted a man who slept with his clients' wives. Sarah was completely ruined. Her friends abandoned her, her family was ashamed, and the charity board asked for her resignation. The divorce settlement, thanks to the ironclad prenup and the overwhelming evidence of her infidelity, left her with barely anything. She lost the house, the cars, her social standing. I saw her once, months later, at a grocery store in a less affluent part of town. Her hair was unkempt, her clothes drab, her eyes hollow. She looked at me, and for the first time I saw not anger, but a profound, crushing defeat. She tried to speak, but no words came. I simply nodded, a ghost of a smile playing on my lips, and walked away. The silence in my large, empty house is deafening now, a constant reminder of the life that was and the life that is. The end.